Alright, and welcome. I had thought that I had selected or clicked on stream. I hadn't, so you'd missed the qualifying call. I do apologise. Unfortunately, it was one of those times where you thought you'd absolutely nailed, the call, and, well, there's no one there to listen. So, again, I do apologise, but we're here. Done the driver's briefing. We have done qualifying. I'll go through the grid order, obviously, once. Obviously, the formation lap begins, but I'll just try and find a decent camera view and I'll go through. Obviously, just a couple things out there. Obviously, there on your screen is the championship order. So, James Owen did extend his championship lead by, I think, a couple points there after the last round at Curvelo. So, 257 plays 230 to Brenton Foley. Turmo, he's on 204 now. He's had a very stellar end of season. And there's Brendan Ross, 144. Baker on 144. Baker is not here tonight, but Cracker is. He's on 137, so should he finish, he'll definitely move ahead of his teammate. Wayne Whitmore on 134. Unfortunately not here tonight, and neither is Reece Gardner. And he's on 126. So Dwayne Davies being here, he should move up in front of... Well, he's a very good chance of moving up in front of Whitmore, Cracker, and... Gardner, Whitmore, and Baker. And then Luke Joyner on 96 points. To the unofficial team points, obviously got Farcanel Racing on 310 points provisionally. Obviously that's got to be fixed up on my end. I keep meaning to do it, but just don't end up having the time. So I do apologise for that. And obviously you can see Cracker Racing Team on 281. Unfortunately Baker not here for this one. So Cracker will be flying the flag for his team. And then we've got obviously Turmo's Chevrolet Castrol Racing on 204 points. D2 Racing on 168. Fusion Sim Racing 126. Playboy Racing on 68. JMSR 51. Raceman 42. And Flat Spot Racing on 27. And, should Mike Coulson continue his hot qualifying form here into the race, he'll certainly be a chance of jumping up in front of Raceman and JMSR. And see, there is the success ballast. You'll see Reece Gardner, James Owen, Brenton Foley all on 90 kilograms. Dwayne Davies on 70. Brendan Rast on 70. Scott Morrill on 70, although I believe he is done for the championship, which is sad to see. But hopefully he does come around and do some guest races in other series should he get the time. Corey Preston on 50, we've not seen since round 2. Turmo on 30, Baker on 20, and Fernando Bruno also on 20. So, just having a look. We're just about to tick over to the race session. Drivers have had they've had a second warm-up session for 5 minutes because obviously the driver's briefing went a little bit long this time, so I thought just give them a little bit of extra time to obviously go for a toilet break or cut in a lap or two and get themselves ready for the first race tonight. And there we go, ticked over. And now we just wait, obviously, for the drivers to form up onto the grid. And on your screen right there, that is the circuit we're racing. As you can see, very technical, twisty, and some fast bits in there. Do apologise that the image is a bit skewed a little bit, so you can't really read the corner names there. But 17 corners on this circuit. And as you can see, format, once again, 25 minutes plus an extra lap once time expires. 2 races, with this second being reverse grid for those that finish, of course. Corners to look out for. Obviously, you want to get turn 1 and 2 right. They're sort of connected. Obviously, if you miss turn 1, you're going to stuff up turn 2. And turn 2 there, that counts as obviously the 2 left-hand corners there. They're sort of connected as one corner, at least on the track map that I saw. And then the next key points are, well, those left-handers from turn 4, 5, and 6. They're very easy to obviously just go a little bit too hard on the throttle and understeer off. In fact, that's a big feature for a lot of this circuit, is you don't want to be too aggressive on corner exit, because you can do that at the turn 8 and 9 chicane, and you can do that or the next chicane after, as well as turn 12 and the double left there. Anyway, we've begun our formation lap, so let's go through the grid. Obviously, just got to, sort out the HUD. But Brenton Foley, as you can see, on pole position. He set a scorching 2:08 to take pole position from a surprise Mike Coulston, who set a very nice lap time of 2:01.4. And he will start alongside him. By far his best qualifying effort of the season. And Steve Bolger, he's up there as well in P3. P4, Gary Neville doing a great job for Farcanel Racing. Hadn't done much practice as far as I know, but very, very quick out of the box. P4 put a nice solid job in qualifying, and he's in front of James Owen, who mucked up his qualifying lap in the final sector after being up over Mike Coulston by, I think it was about 0.6 of a second. He'll start P5. Termo will start P6. Wayne Davies P7. Brendan Ross, another one mucked up his qualifying lap in the final sector. He'll start P8. Brownie will start P9. Then we've got Brian Walsh and Glenn Miles for Ford Underperformance Racing / Playboy Racing, or will be Playboy Racing next season. And then we've got Luke Joyner in 12th and Cracker, a late joiner for Cracker Racing Team in 13th. Oh, there's a bit of contact there between Mike Coulston and Foley there. Looks like the safety car is very slow through that chicane. So hopefully no damage done to either driver or any subsequent drivers. Certainly don't think he meant it, but safety car. A couple of these circuits that we haven't been to. See, we didn't come to this circuit last season, and Curvelo had some interesting things. It's obviously drivers getting disqualified in qualifying. So a couple of Razor circuits have some issues that probably need to be sorted. And this one, obviously, the safety car very slow through the chicane. So it's still got 2 corners to go. This is the penultimate corner. Now, this corner will be very tricky for the drivers with weight. If you don't have any weight, that corner is actually quite fun. But with weight, it's very easy to understeer wide. And then, obviously, you've got this banked final corner, which is pretty fun to exit. So, the safety car's in, coming up to the start-finish line. And we're just about to get underway. Start-finish line about halfway down this straight. And Brenton Foley will lead us away. You can just see at the bottom of your screen. And away we go. Brenton Foley leads away. Decent start from Mike Coulston alongside him. And Owen, he got a nice jump, and well, he looked like he was going to jump in front of Gary Neville, who's brakes very late, as does Brendan Ross, who gives Owen a little bit of a tap. And Gary Neville is ran wide at turn 2, and that's dropped him down the field. But Foley leads, Coulston second, Bolger third, Owen 4th, Ross 5th, then Davies, Termo, Brownie, and Gary Neville feeds out to 9th. So unfortunately for him, he's ruined his qualifying session, dropped all the way down to, well, he's just made a dive on Brownie and is now up to P8. But back at the front, Mike Coulston all over the back of Brenton Foley. Obviously, Coulston not having any weight, while Foley carrying 90 kilos. And obviously, with all these corners on the track, carrying and not many big straights aside from the one from the final corner from turn 17 to turn 1, there's no real big straights for obviously the weight to play a big role, which we've seen at other circuits. And this circuit really does play into the hands of the better drivers. So we did see this at a couple other circuits throughout the year where faster drivers were able to make their obviously weight disadvantage disappear through superior driving. And this will be one of those circuits. But as you can see, the front two have broken away a little bit. Bolger now has fallen into the clutches of Owen, and Owen's got Brendan Ross right behind him. And this is the corner where Owen begun, obviously, he stuffed up his qualifying lap right there. That double left-hander ran wide the corner before and then ran very wide there. And right on board, Brendan Ross in P5 in the Farcanel Toyota Corolla. Oh, a little bit of a lock-up there from James Owen. He keeps it on the racetrack just. But that allows Bolger just to eke out a little bit of a gap. And now Brendan Ross putting Owen under a little bit of pressure. At the front, Foley edging away. He's got 1.2 over Mike Coulston. He's had a solid start. He hasn't choked, and he's got 1.2 over Steve Bolger behind, and Steve Bolger's obviously got James Owens 7/10 behind, and James Owens got Brendan Ross 3/10 behind. But in that last sector, just having a look, looks like Dwayne Davies has caught up just a little bit, but he's now got Turmo right behind him and a recovering Gary Neville. Oh, it looks like Gary Neville having a look up the inside of Turmo there, but not quite close enough. Further down the field, got Brownie. It's got Luke Joyner closing in. Cracker's made his way up to 11th. Got Glenn Miles in 12th and Ryan Walsh down in 13th. So these two, I think, have made a mistake somewhere. They've dropped down the field. And at the front, looks like it is starting to close together just a little bit. Foley not quite as quick so far in this first sector. 43.1. And it was a 43.0 for Coulston, a 42.8 for Bolger, and a 42.7 for Owen, 42.8 for Ross, and a 42.9 for Davies. Going through the fast chicane over the second split line. At 1.1 seconds to Mike Coulston in second. Now, having done a bit of running on my own, as Owen runs wide and Ross locks up. Having done running on my own, I figured this race will probably be around 13 to 14, 12, 13 or 14 laps. Probably looking at, I think 13 laps or so will probably be the limit, I'd say. And they're about to cross the line. 2:01.4 for Foley, 2:01.6 for Coulston, a 2:07 point for Bolger. That would have put him on pole. And then we've got James Owen. Must have got a track cut. Or did he? No, he didn't. He's at the fastest lap. 2:06. And Coulston's made a slight mistake, and now he's got Bolger right behind him. Bolger going for the inside. Coulston not really battling it all too much. And gives Bolger a bit of respect, a bit of room. And Bolger up into P2. Now Coulston's got Owen right behind him. Owen running wide there. And that costs him a little bit of time. Coulston having a look on the inside of Bolger again as both Bolger and Coulston lock up just a little bit there. That's allowed Owen to close the gap just a little bit. Gary Neville down in 8th, setting purple first sector, 42.5. That is very, very quick. And he's behind Turmo at the moment, still down in P8. And now after Bolger has got past Coulston, it looks like Coulston's found his pace again, and now he's harassing Steve Bolger for P2. Doesn't want to give it up, and that's allowing actually Foley just to break away just a little bit. He's got that gap out to about 2 seconds now, between himself and P2. And he'll be hoping it stays that way for the remainder of the race. And he'll probably be hoping that Brendan Ross, his teammate, can get in front of James Owen as well to help him out for the championship. Oh, is Coulston very aggressive on the throttle. He runs very wide, as does Brendan Ross, and that drops Coulston down to P5. So it's his first mistake of the race. He'll be kicking himself for that one. Just too eager to get on the throttle, and that drops him from 3rd down to 5th. And that gives Steve Bolger a bit of respite now, at least until Steve Owen ends up on his tail. As you can see on your screen, first 7-8 cars aren't separated by much after 4 laps. First 7 seconds. So field very competitive in this early stage. And the gap between the first two has come down by a 10th in that first sector there. 2.1 seconds now. It was 2.2. And Gary Neville, he's made his way up to 7th now, so he's made a move on Termo. Hold on a second. Alright, let's have a look and see what happened. So it's just got a good run out of turn 4 there, through the kink, and Termo giving him a bit of space and letting him go. So Owen's broken away from Ross now, and he's right behind Steve Bolger. And these two dropping a little bit of time in the middle sector again. So Brenton Foley's just eking away. He said a purple middle sector, did Foley, but that's immediately smashed by James Owen. Well, I wouldn't say smashed, it was only 1/1000th of a second faster. 38.968 for Foley, 38.967 for Owen. And Owen's got a very good run out of the final corner. And Bolger's going to have to go defensive if he wants to hold on to P2 for now, but doesn't look like he's going to do so just yet. It is a right, then a left, 2-minute point 3, so that would have easily been pole position, but obviously the track is rubbering up and he's had a bit of a slipstream as well. Bolger holds on around the outside. Owen probably trying to get the switchback through turn 2. And it's ran a little bit on the grass there, and that's compromised him just a little bit. And for now, Bolger will hold on, but Owen is within striking distance. The centre dive up the inside here. But he decides better of it, and Bolger holds on for now. Behind them, looks like Brendan Ross, he's got Mike Coulson all over the back of him now. So Coulson starting to apply the blowtorches once again as Brendan Ross runs wide on the red dirt there, and runs wide again. So Coulson looking very racy at this stage. And Bolger defensive into the hairpin. The gap between Bolger and Foley now 3.3 seconds. So with Owen and Bolger battling, it's allowing Foley to get away. But with the battling going on behind these two, it's also allowing, obviously, the gap between Ross and Owen to sort of stay the same, as opposed to Ross closing the gap on these two. See the first split, Foley 42.8 compared to Bolger and Owen, both 43.3 and 43.4. So he put a bit of time in that first split, and again in the middle sector, put a little bit more time on him. So Foley looking quite quick and consistent at this stage. But this circuit is one where it is easy to make a mistake, and we'll see, I think later on, the front tyres will come into play just a little bit. No one trying that wider line, a wider entry to that final corner, gives him a fantastic exit once again. Oh, and there's a bit of contact below, or behind I should say, is Coulston, Neville and Davies all ending up in a, well, around or stopped. So let's just have a look. So you have a look at Mike Coulston. He's got Gary Neville behind, well, he's got Dane Davies behind him. So looks like Gary Neville ran wide, and that left Coulston with nowhere to go, and Davies with nowhere to go, and unfortunately, it's obviously dropped Coulston down a spot. And we come back to the battle for P2, and Owen up the inside, and now he's moved up into P2 ahead of Steve Bolger, and those two are a little bit quicker in that final sector of the lap. And the gap between Foley and Owen was 3.5. In fact, in that first split, with those two battling, it's actually cost them 1.5 seconds. There. Now it's a 4.9. So 4.9 seconds is still 13 minutes plus an extra lap remaining. There's plenty of time for Owen to make a move, but he's going to have to use a fair chunk of his tyres to get there. And as we didn't see in qualifying, but he did make a mistake in qualifying, going all out for it. So won't want to go too ballistic and drop a few spots. He could just play damage limitation and obviously concede, I believe, 5 points between first and second. The gap actually 5.5, so he lost another 0.6 in the middle sector there. And Bolger still right there. Looks looks like Bolger now. He's sort of taking a similar line now to James Owen. So, James Owen a bit wide there. That'll cost him a bit more time to Bolger at least. Across the line gap is 5.2, so it's a little bit quicker in the final sector, but the first two sectors on that lap costing Owen dearly. In fact, Foley in that last lap, 38.9 in the middle sector, so it was very, very quick. But final sector, not so. Set a 2-minute 0.8 on that last lap, so pretty handy compared to James Owen 2:02.6, but obviously he had to navigate Steve Bolger on that lap. Behind them, Gary Neville now. He's in P4 and Turmo's made his way in front of Mike Coulston. Fortunately, a replay not picking that up either, a bit too far back. Behind them, Cracker is in front of a damaged Dwayne Davies, who was unfortunately caught up in that incident at the final corner where Gary Neville ran wide and he got away with it. Well, obviously he left Coulston, Davies and Ross with nowhere to go, unfortunately. And we've got yellows out, and that's Turmo. So Turmo's gone around at the hairpin. Dare I say he's run wide at the corner before and then lost it going into the hairpin. So let's just have a look and see. Or is he going to get on the grass? No, he's just outbroke himself. Well, something's happened there. Very weird. And ran wide, and he's now down to 6. That moves Coulson back up to P5. And back to P2, and James Owen and Bolger sort of remaining at that 1 second range, as you can see, 1.1 seconds. So Bolger has just picked up his pace just a little bit. Although this lap in the first sector a bit slower compared to the top two. In fact, in the last sector, I reckon he's gained just a little bit of time on Owen there. See Owen carrying a bit of weight compared to Bolger. He's not carrying any. 2:01.2 for Owen, 2:01.4 for Bolger. The gap now under a second. And the gap between Foley and Owen is Owen runs wide. Easy to do there at turn 2. Doesn't look like it's costing too much time. But it's certainly given Bolger plenty of encouragement to get a wriggle on. And give him a sniff at retaking P2. Behind them, they've got Gary Neville 3 seconds back. Mike Coulston a further 3.5 seconds back. He's got 7.5 to Turmo. 3 seconds to Cracker. 2.5 to Davies. And 6 seconds to Brendan Ross, who must have made another mistake because he wasn't too far from Davies last time out. He's got Luke Joyner right behind him in 10th. Brownie 11th. Glenn Miles P12. Ryan Walsh 13th. So they've got all runners with 9.5 minutes remaining. Brenton Foley leads by 6 seconds over James Owen, who's got Steve Bolger 0.6 of a second behind him. Bolger doing a solid job so far. If he just takes it a bit easy, doesn't make a mistake. The way Owen's been driving this car, he has been pushing pretty hard. If Bolger can just keep it on the grey stuff and not make a mistake, I reckon he'll find himself in front of Owen before this race ends. But obviously that's all on him not making a massive mistake. Because he obviously has seen James Owen he has made these little mistakes around this circuit. A bit uncharacteristic from him, obviously going by his form throughout the season, where he's been pretty rock solid, but around here he's made 1 or 2 little mistakes, and that's why he finds himself 5.8 seconds behind Brenton Foley with 8 minutes left, and with Steve Bolger licking his chops behind him. Once again, they're dropping Gary Neville ever so slightly. Gary Neville's just dropping Mike Coulston slightly. Just looking at the lap times on Live Races. There is a link below should those want to check out, obviously, the Facebook page or the, obviously, live timing going on right now. Just check out the links in the description below, but you can also check out, obviously, if you don't want to do that, you'll just want to type it in, amsoz.liveracers.com/live. And click on one of the active servers. But yes, looking at the last lap times, 2:01.7 for Foley, 2:02.1 for Owen, a 2:01.6 for Bolger, and a 2:02.7 for Neville. That's the top four, and then Coulston with a 2:03.1. Looks like Cracker also, he's found a little bit of time. He set a 2:02.427. That was his personal best last time out. But as this race has sort of gone on, we've seen, obviously, unfortunately, we saw the incident between Coulston, Neville, Ross and Davies all sort of ruin that battle for P3, or P4 I should say, going on. Unfortunately it ruined that, because that was looking up to be a fantastic scrap. That's dropped them, see, well down now. As you see, Gary Neville in fourth, run all the way down. See, Neville made a mistake at the penultimate corner, got too hot, and was going very slowly to the final corner, and left Mike Coulston, Dwayne Davies and Brendan Ross with nowhere to go. It's Mike Coulston now, he's once again dropping time to Gary Neville behind, Turmo behind him, P6, and Cracker, he's been pretty consistent last couple of laps, within a tenth of a second, 2 laps in a row, and he's starting to menace Turmo in front of him, who Turmo carrying obviously 30 kilograms the second round in a row. Was looking better earlier on, but unfortunately he's had a couple incidents as well. And come back forward, looks like the battle for P2 is starting to die down just a little bit, as looks like Owen's just picked up his pace. Well, I wouldn't say picked up his pace, he's not made many mistakes, while Bolger has dropped a little bit of time. 2:01.6 for Foley, or 2:02 dead for Owen, and 2:02.4 for Bolger. So Bolger just that little bit slower. Bolger not carrying much weight, which actually in some corners around this racetrack is actually a bit of a hindrance, not having weight. Makes the back end obviously step out just a little bit. This left-hander in particular is one where it does step out on entry. And that initial entry to that first of the double left-handers there, that's another one where the back end can step out. So, in the penultimate corner, now the final one. See, Bolger now is seen the lines that Owen's taken through that final corner. He started to copy him a bit, and he started to find a bit of time. And in fact, I reckon in this last sector, he's maybe found a couple tenths or two. Also 1.3, crosses the line, 1.0. The gap between Foley, Owen, see championship rivals, 6 seconds now. But Foley will be sweating on and hoping that Steve Bolger behind can mount a challenge with 4 minutes plus an extra lap remaining. And obviously give him just a couple extra points to claw back on James Owen for the championship. But lockups like that aren't going to help Foley or Steve Bolger's cause. Just looking for some battles throughout the field, and closest one on track at the moment between Turmo and Cracker for P6. And in fact, I think, yes, looks like Turmo made a mistake in the final sector last lap around, and that allowed Cracker to get by. So Cracker was behind Turmo, and through consistency, well, both he and Turmo both ruined that. But that was, yeah, just about to say, through consistency, Cracker has worked his way up to P6. No dents on the car, which is good to see. And yeah, he's moved his way up 7 positions, as you can see on your screen. Did outbrake himself there through the chicane. It's going to give Turmo a decent shot. I would say I was going to give him a decent shot coming to the far chicane, but Turmo a little bit conservative. Perhaps his tyres a bit more worn than Cracker's. decent run through the fast chicane. He's not quite close enough for the left-hand kink, but if he gets this right, he could set himself up here for the double left-hander. No, not quite close enough, but Cracker does run wide, but it sort of balks Turmo a little bit. Buys Cracker a little bit of time. Turmo not taking the optimal line there through the, see, turn 15. A little bit of a lock up there. Cracker. Turmo to close in. And again, a little bit wide there for Cracker. The final corner, but he got on the power nice and early. It's in fact giving him just a slightly better exit out of the final corner and down the longest straight on the circuit. So under 2 minutes remaining. Going by where the leaders are at this stage, I'd say the next lap is when time will expire. I think Foley will cross the line with probably about 15 or 20 seconds remaining. Decent exit there from Turmo. If he gets this right, no, he backs out of it. Very conservative through here. See, not trusting his front tyres there. Because there is an opportunity into that hairpin. If you obviously get a good run through that hairpin compared to the rival in front of you, you can just send it up the inside there. So, Turmo late on the brakes into the first of the chicanes. And that costing him time. Looks like both these guys are slowly edging towards Mike Coulston. Looking at the lap time, 2:03.3 last time around for Coulston. 2:03.2 for Cracker and a 2:02.7 for Turmo. So these guys are edging closer, 1.9 between them. So we could see a 3-car battle before this race ends. And Brenton Foley crosses the line with 24 seconds remaining. 2:02.0 for him. He's got 5.7 over James Owen behind. 2:02.5 for him and a 2:02.4 for Bolger. And Gary Neville in P4. He sets a 2:02.5. He'll be kicking himself after making that mistake early on, because at the moment he's got some fairly decent pace compared to obviously the cars in front of him. He's just got to keep himself in the game for a bit longer, and Gary Neville would have been a shot of maybe nicking a podium. And behind him, Mike Coulston 1.6 over Cracker. And Cracker, as you can see, Turmo right behind him. Also got a battle between Ross and Joyner, looking at live timing as well. Continue their battle, but we'll stick with the Turmo Cracker battle for now. Looks like Cracker's had a fairly decent first sector, and he's got the gap down to 1.1 seconds between himself and Mike Coulston. And Coulston running wide, that left-hand kink coming to the hairpin will compromise him again. And the gap, I reckon we'll see it under a second at the second timing split coming up after the fast chicane. Much closer now, Cracker, but I don't think he's going to be quite close enough, barring mistake. But up at the front, we've got Brenton Foley comes out of the final corner. He has had a flawless weekend so far, and he will begin the final lap of the race. Lap 14, 2:01.8, so he's still got some life in those tyres. 2:01.8 for Owen. 2:02.3 for Bolger. 2:01.9 for Neville. And now, Coulston a little bit wide that final corner, as is Turmo and Cracker. All of them just running over that ripple strip on the exit. But Cracker's got a good run over Mike Coulston. He's going to send it up the inside into turn 1. But Coulston should be able to hold on around the outside and have the inside for turn 2 if he's brave enough. Cracker holds on, around the outside, but he's had to back out of it. He's almost going to run off the circuit, but he's got the inside. If he doesn't run off the road, which he does, that's going to give Turmo a good run. So that's dropped Cracker down a spot, moved Turmo up a spot, and Turmo might have a crack himself, but he doesn't. He's stuck behind Coulston, and Coulston holds on, and Cracker sends it up the inside of Turmo, who now has the inside for the next corner. And Turmo now up to P6, and Cracker couldn't make the move stick at turn 1 and 2. And it's dropped him a spot, but doesn't want to give it up. And once again, side by side with Turmo. He should have the line for the fast kink, but Turmo, if he holds on around the outside, can send it up the inside at the hairpin, but decides better of it. And Cracker holds on for now. That's given Coulston in front a little bit of breathing room. And all he has to do now, I think Coulston, is just hold on. He should have it. But Turmo and Cracker will battle it out to the end. And Owen must have made a mistake. Yes, he has 44.1 in the first split. So he's made a mistake in 40.1 in the middle sector as well. So 2 mistakes has allowed Steve Bolger on his tail. Foley's coming through the final corner now. Owen to the penultimate corner. Doesn't make a mistake. So he'll hold on unless he runs out of fuel. Which I don't think he will. And Foley, absolutely flawless in qualifying. Flawless. Led every single lap in the race. And he takes race 1. James Owen will hold on for P2. And Steve Bolger will take a fantastic podium for P3. And Gary Neville will be ruining that mistake on the first lap. And indeed, obviously, running wide at the penultimate corner, mid part of the race as well, because he was only 3.9 behind Bolger and Owen in front of him. If he hadn't made those mistakes, he would have been right there for a podium position. And Turmo will end up P5, Coulston P6, Cracker P7, and Dwayne Davies right behind him in P8. And looks like Brendan Ross will hold on to P9, Luke Joyner P10. But let's just have a look at the replay and see what happened here. So something must have happened earlier in the lap. We'll just have a look. So Coulston he ran wide at the chicane. The far chicane just ran wide. Cracker sent it up the inside for the first left-hand kink. Coulston held it around the outside. Then Cracker just sent it up the inside. Outbroke himself. Oh, and he forced Mike Coulston onto the grass, and Turmo says, I'll take that. And it looks like Cracker slowing down to redress the position, which is good to see. And that ended that one. And yes, Luke Joyner did finish P10, and he's also missing a wheel on his wagon. P11 to Brownie. Brian Walsh will take the battle of the FUR cars and take P12 with Glenn Miles finishing in P13. So all cars on the lead lap and all cars finishing, which is good to see. It hasn't happened too often this season. It's happened here in race 1 this evening. So then, very interesting race 1. Had some battles. Obviously the pace between a lot of the drivers was very, very close, but mistakes, as I said going in, that very easy to make around this technical circuit. And as we saw, obviously that penultimate corner hatching out a couple drivers, as did the far chicane and that left-hander, that double left-hander. And obviously just to recap the top 3 once again, Brenton Foley taking the win, led every single lap from pole. Obviously the battle between Bolger and Owen helped him obviously build a lead early on, with Owen finishing 2nd, Bolger 3rd, with Neville 4th, Turmo stealing 5th from Coulston and Cracker due to their contact. Coulston P6, Cracker P7, Davies P8, Ross P9, Luke Joyner in P10, Brownie 11th, and Brian Walsh 12th, with Glenn Miles rounding out the runners in P13. Well, that's race 1 done and dusted. We'll just take a short break as we sort out the grid for the second race, and we shall catch you shortly. Alright, and welcome back to, well, we're currently in the warm-up in between the first and second race. We've got about 5 minutes to go until the second race, the reverse grid race. And, well, that was an interesting first race. Bit of a shame that some of the battles that were shaping up to be quite tasty ended up obviously being ruined. Obviously, the Gary Neville incident that obviously I've spoken about a couple of times now. Bit of a shame. Obviously, that would have been a fantastic battle for probably P. In the end, it might have even been P3, but certainly P4 was shaping up to be a very interesting fight. And then obviously Brenton Foley did obviously all he can do for the championship. Unfortunately for his sake, that James Owen was able to obviously get through his mistake in qualifying and get up to P2 and almost threw it away on the last lap with a couple minor errors before before holding on, I should say, right at the end with Steve Bolger right there with him. Bolger obviously having one of his better runs of the season, qualified third, finished third, but did hold second for a large portion of that race. And obviously Gary Neville finishing in fourth place after that incident. Obviously a bit lonely after that. But he certainly had some pretty decent pace towards the end of the race. He was able to sort of run at a similar pace to obviously the front three in front of him. It was a little bit quicker than obviously Mike Coulston, Turmo, Cracker and the like behind him. So it'll be interesting to see how that shapes up. Obviously this time around, obviously reverse grid. And it's pretty competitive this time out. So we might see someone in the midfield sort of sneak away and possibly, take a win. I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult than what we've seen in the past in reverse grid races. So we got Mike Coulston, I believe, he finished fairly well. He's in the middle of the pack, so he finished sixth. So he's going to start, I believe, seventh for this one. If he gets a decent start, he had fairly decent pace, obviously very good qualifying pace. If he gets a decent start, he could be one to look out for a breakthrough win. Obviously, Brendan Ross didn't have the greatest run in the first race. He finished well down in ninth position, and he'll find himself starting in, I believe, fifth place. So he's another one to look out for. Luke Joyner, he's always found pace in the second races, so I'm interesting to see how he goes in this one. And then obviously Dwayne Davies, another one, very similar pace to Brendan Ross, but obviously both carried a bit of damage in the second half of the race. So perhaps their true pace is a bit masked, unfortunately, due to that incident. So they're drivers that could nick a win. Obviously, saw Cracker towards the end of that race was very, very consistent, and he was sort of matching those around him. He joined very late in practice, so he sort of figured out the circuit a little bit, and obviously he finished just in front of Davies and Ross. But he would have finished probably in front of Turmo had he not made contact with Mike Coulston there on the last lap and redressed the position. Obviously Turmo, he's just in front of the Neville, Bolger, Owen and Foley, so it might be a little bit unlikely for him with his fastest lap only being a 2:02, but again, I think he carried damage from the incident with Gary Neville earlier on in the race, so again, his true pace might be a little bit masked, so he could be another one that you just don't know. So for Foley and Owen, and obviously indeed Bolger as well, I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult here to work their way through the field without there being mistakes. So that's something just to look out for. Obviously, we have seen a couple reverse grid races where the leaders by obviously the third or fourth lap have ended up in podium positions already. But barring an incident off the start or on the first lap or two, I don't think that's going to happen here. I reckon it's going to be very, very tight. And we're going to see some good racing early on in this race, and I reckon this one could be a championship deciding race. If obviously James Owen gets through nice and cleanly and manages to get in front of Foley, obviously that'll probably seal the championship. But if Foley can get a decent start and put a few places on James Owen might not get through the field. So it's going to be very, very interesting with the field spread not too big here, and it's just a matter really of the little mistakes. So that is this second race here. It's going to be a crucial one, and I reckon it's going to be an entertaining one. So we've got 30 seconds now until the warm-up finishes, and then we'll probably have another minute or so, or 30 seconds or so wait until the server ticks over until the race session. And for those obviously that are watching, I know there's not too many this time around, but if you do have any questions on the series, I'm free obviously to ask as we do wait to tick over. And if I did get time, I was hoping to get in a preview lap of this circuit, just an onboard lap of me actually going around this Curvelo circuit and talking you through a lap, but didn't get time unfortunately. Might have to post it up on YouTube later, but we've ticked over and we're about to get underway for race 2, the reverse grid of round 9, the Automobilista Australia Touring Car Championship. And there they are, just forming up on the grid. Obviously Glenn Miles will lead us away, and his teammate is not formed up on the grid just yet. So hopefully he does make it back in time. There he is. So FUR Ford Underperformance Racing, which will be Playboy Racing next season, will lead us away. And hopefully they follow the start procedure and get us through this first lap nice and cleanly. Alright, so Glenn Miles, he'll be the one to start from pole position. His teammate Ryan Walsh will start from second alongside him on the front row, and well, he's already struggling, so hopefully he does a little bit better in the race. Brownie will be the first one on the second row. He'll start P3 with Luke Joyner alongside him. Then the first of the Smokies with Brendan Ross in P5, Wayne Davies P6, and then we've got Cracker P7, Mike Coulston P8, who will be hoping to cut out the couple mistakes that he had in that first race and pick up a fair haul of points. He's got some pace around here, so if he cuts that out, he again, he's a chance for a podium if he can just get away cleanly and not make any mistakes. We've got Termo in P9. We'll be hoping to avoid an FCR car parked in front of him. Speaking of, and there's Gary Neville will start P10, Steve Bolger P11, James Owen 12th, and Britton Foley will be hoping it's not unlucky, but he'll be starting in 13th. So it's still got about half a lap remaining. It's a very long lap in these cars, about 2 minutes, so as you've seen in the first race, 2 minutes. 0.3 is the .397 is the fastest lap around this circuit in these cars of a very long lap. As you can see, safety car very awkward through that chicane there, and for whatever reason wants to warm its tyres. Oh, and it looks like we've got a bit of contact on the formation lap there. Just see if we can sort that issue out. Hopefully not too much damage to any cars around the back there. little bit of contact there between the FUR cars. But the safety car pulls in, just about to get underway. Wayne Davies with a little bit of damage, and I think Ryan Walsh might have a little bit as well for running into his teammate. Ryan Walsh getting very close to his teammate, just about to start the cross, or start the race, and away we go. Miles and Walsh are very slow to get away. Brownie takes advantage, waits smartly until after start finish line, so Brownie into the lead. Luke Joyner looking to go around the outside of Brian Walsh into turn 1. He'll have the inside of turn 2, and we've got yellows out already. Let's have a look and see who it is. It's Mike Coulston, unfortunately. So what has happened to Mike Coulston? And his car's off, so what happened there? So we're just right on board Mike Coulston. It's just into the barrier, so he got rear-ended by somebody there. We'll have a look actually and see who that was. It was a bit unfortunate. Looks like his fellow Englishman gave him a bit of serve there and sent him straight into the wall. So unfortunately, Mike Coulston out. It's Brownie leads at the moment. Luke Joyner P2. Brendan Ross P3. Ryan Walsh holding on to P4. Cracker has got Dwayne Davies looking up the inside behind him. We've got Bolger looking up the inside of Glenn Miles for P7. And he's also got James Owen behind him. Miles runs a little bit wide. It's going to compromise his exit. Might also compromise Bolger and Owen behind him. And Owen's got Foley right behind him as well. So Foley navigates the far chicane. Looks like both Bolger and Owen were checked up by, I think it was one of the FUR cars got a bit sideways. It balked him a little bit, and Foley says, "Thank you very much, I'll take that." So Foley, very opportunistic, up to 8th. A little bit of contact between Cracker and Glenn Miles there. That allows Foley now up to P7, and he's having a look up the inside of Cracker, who gets a little bit sideways, and I believe that's Gary Neville around in the background. But Foley trying to make a move into penultimate corner. Won't get it done there, but trying to set himself up now at the final corner. He will get a fantastic run, taking that wide entry, and that will move, or at least he'll try to move in front of Cracker into P6, but he's going to have to do it the long way around the outside at obviously turn 1. Or hold on around the outside and then get him into turn 2. Behind him, looks like James Owen has moved up into 8th. And it looks like, I don't know if Cracker got sideways or if there's a little bit of contact there, but either way, both him and Foley takes the position now. Just to have a look on the replay, see if there was a little bit of contact. Looks like there was a little bit of contact. And looks like, Foley might have even made a little bit of mistake there. He got a bit sideways again. Let's just have a look. Bolger into the back of Owen. A bit of silly driving there. Let's just have a look at that again. So what's going on here? So Bolger decides that I'm going to make a late move up the inside of Cracker. Got it way wrong and bang, straight into the back of James Owen. And that was a bit of contact. Or big contact. And now that's dropped Owen a few places behind Foley. And see, Foley did not Cracker a little bit wide there, did take the position. So perhaps that might get looked at after the race. Foley now up to P5. And Davies up 2 spots in P4, so he got a bit of contact right there, in fact, at the fast chicane, due to the safety car and the field checking up. Brendan Ross has got past Luke Joyner for P2 and trying to hunt down Brownie for the lead. These guys have got good 4.5 seconds over Dwayne Davies. Obviously those guys have been battling pretty hard back there. And now Ross got a decent exit out of the final corner, but he's got a bit of weight, so Brownie will probably out-drag him down the straight. And in fact, he might have Joyner for company. It's Brownie for now, holds on. And Ross almost lost that under braking, but manages to just hold on to it. And, well, a little bit more sideways, and he'd probably be behind Joyner, but he's held on. And Davies and Foley about 4/10 of a second faster than Joyner in that last sector. So they're coming. Behind them, Cracker has got past Ryan Walsh, as has Owen, and now Turmo. So Brownie continues to hold on to the lead as Brendan Ross goes wide there. We've seen a number of cars. In fact, there goes another one. That's Dwayne Davies, and that's going to allow Brenton Foley now up into P4. So he says, thank you very much, Dwayne. I'll take that one. And the gap now between Joyner and Foley, that's another half a second in the first split. Oh, and it looks like Brownie's made a slight mistake, and that's allowed Brendan Ross into the lead. So Brownie loses the lead now, and he's going to come under a bit of pressure from Luke Joyner, who's been pretty clean so far in this race. We'll just have a look at the replay, see what happened. Yeah, Brownie just broke about 20 metres too, or maybe not 20 metres, about 15 metres too late, cuts across the grass, has a bit of lawn mowing, and Brendan Ross says, yeah mate, I'll take that. So now Brendan Ross is edged away from Brownie a little bit, but it looks like Joyner's made a mistake, and he's got Brenton Foley right behind him, and Luke Joyner wide. We've seen a number of cars wide there. Hopefully he doesn't hit Foley on the inside. No. Avoids contact, thankfully. Unlike in the first race with Gary Neville. And Foley now up 10 spots into P3. Brendan Ross fastest lap of the race, but that's about to get absolutely smashed. Yep, 1.5 seconds at least there, I think. And Foley 1:2:01.6. And championship rival 2:02.1 on that lap, and then he had to, I think, navigate Turmo. Oh, Joyner is parked it for some reason, and Owen driven straight into the back of him. So let's just have a look and see what happened to Luke Joyner, why he just stopped there, but he just parked it on the exit. Perhaps a technical issue of some sort. Yeah, I reckon his game I reckon he's alt-tabbed. Something's alt-tabbed him out of the game, and he's had to close it, and unfortunately it's blocked the championship leader, and giving him a bit of damage as Brian Walsh into the wall, and he's lost a wheel. So it's just, again, let's have a look at that on replay. The first race is, well, we didn't have any retirements, and not too many incidents early on, but it's already 2 DNFs and a big accident there for Brian Walsh, the championship leader that's been hit, and Mike Coulston out, unfortunately, before turn 1. So yeah, Walsh just trying to take it flat for whatever reason into the tyre barrier, and you've only got 3 wheels on your wagon, son, and that's the end of that chapter. So Brendan Ross in the lead, and now Brenton Foley into P2, so FCR 1 and 2. We'll have to cut back and have a look on the replay. Looked like Foley got a good run, and Brownie made a slight mistake on the grass there. So Foley a little bit quicker through the fast chicane, coming up to the fast left-hand kick. So look up the inside, but it's not really a passing opportunity. And then Brownie just mucked up the middle of the corners. He saw a little bit of a wiggle, and Foley gives him no room because he wants that position. So Foley now up into P2. You'd suspect team orders will come into play at some point in the race, and we'll see Brendan Ross swap positions with Brenton Foley. So Brownie's still doing a solid job. He's in P3, Dwayne Davies P4. And, well, Turmo was in front of James Owen for a little bit there after the contact with Luke Joyner, but it looks like Turmo's made a mistake, and Owen is now back up to P5. Just have a look at live timing myself and have a look-see. Should it ever load, that is. Yes, Turmo mistake in the last sector. Dropped 3 seconds, 42.8 compared to 39.7 of James Owen. Both of them, though, 205.6 and 206.1, so both of them balked quite a bit. See Owen with that damage at the start of the lap, and in fact, yes, you can see it. He's got multiple hits on the front, does James Owen there. Looks like Turmo on this lap's actually fighting back just a little bit. He's not letting him get away. And Dwayne Davies now pressuring Brownie the final podium spot. And Brenton Foley pushing very hard. Purple first sector, 42.7. Brendan Ross responds with a purple middle sector, and that's immediately smashed by Brenton Foley in the purple middle sector of his own. So 43.3 in the first sector for Ross, 39.4 for Ross, compared to 42.7 for Foley and 39.1. So Foley very, very quick on this one. And I was mentioning team orders, but with the pace advantage that Brenton Foley has, I don't think it really matters because he is significantly faster at this stage, and I don't think Brendan Ross is not driving 100%. And there it is, 2:01.2. Although that said, I think on that final sector there that Ross may have been taking a little bit easy as his teammate gets a bit closer. And Dwayne Davies has got past Brownie. Just have a look at the replay and see where that manifested. Looks like Brownie mucked up the initial part of the fast chicane, and Davies got it right, and that was an easy, well, I wouldn't say easy, but Brownie lifted off into the kink and let him go. And behind him, he's actually got James Owen closing pretty rapidly. But James Owen, he's got Turmo for company, so Turmo's getting a bit closer now. And looking quite racy at this stage. There's Brownie wide, and that's going to allow obviously Owen and Turmo to close the gap. Turmo looking the quicker of the two at this stage. Perhaps hoping that Brownie, or hoping to use Brownie as a little bit of a pick and to take both of them. There's little Brownie wide through the slow chicane. 9 and 10. We're coming up to 11 and 12. This is where Brownie stuffed it up, and this is where Turmo stuffs it up this time. But nice throttle control from Turmo, and he doesn't spin it. He doesn't lose too much time to the cars of Owen and Brownie in front. It looks like Brownie is going to lose out to Owen. That said though, Brownie not quite giving it up this time and allowing Turmo to close up. So Brownie he doesn't want to give up P4. Ties the spot he's been in all season. Still 12 minutes remaining, so he's still in with a shot for a decent result. Hasn't taken the best line through the final corner. James Owen comes underneath him. And he'll probably take that position, but Brownie, obviously with less weight, could break a bit later and hold on. And he does so. Owen tried to hold on around the outside and then up the inside, and he gets it done. But Brownie is right there. Not even a cigarette paper between them. Owen's going to have to go defensive. Brownie is looking for a race here. I wonder if he's going to send it. He's having a look. Decides better of it. And Owen escapes and moves up to P4. And he'll be hoping that Brownie doesn't make a mistake. But he just did. But thankfully, that's Turmo did at the same time, because Turmo seems to be a little bit quicker than Owen at this stage. Once again, Brownie wide. And in fact, that's probably just going to hamper Turmo, who's going to have to try and go around the outside at the hairpin, which is very unlikely. But Brownie on the grass there. And he's then backed out of it. And let Turmo through. So Turmo now, no cars between himself and James Owen. And he'll need to get the hammer down for a couple laps to get that gap. See, back to what it was pre-Brownie. There has been a change for the lead. Brendan Ross has let teammate Brenton Foley past. And they've got a 4.7 second gap over Dwayne Davies in third. James Owen is 7.5 seconds behind Dwayne Davies. So, barring catastrophe for the front three, I don't think we'll see James Owen move up any higher. And I think the battle of the race is probably going to be between himself and Turmo. Obviously, we didn't see Turmo's true pace in the first race with that incident midpoint of the race, giving him significant damage, which would have cost him a bit of time. So it will be interesting to see how he goes with obviously no damage this time out compared to James Owen, who's got quite a bit of damage. Obviously he did have a big hit on the Toyota Corolla of Luke Joyner at that very point of the circuit there in the exit of turn 2, where it looked like Luke Joyner had to close something that opened up, and unfortunately parked it right on the exit and left James Owen with nowhere to go. And there it is, the gap is under a second now. 0.7 of a second. It was 1.3 when when Turmo just got past Brownie on the previous lap. Speaking of, Brownie has been overtaken by Gary Neville. I believe that happened at the last corner. So Gary Neville now, solid weekend for him. He's up to P6. It's battle of the race right here. Turmo and James Owen. I know team owner of FCR, he's possibly watching, but he certainly wants Turmo to sneak in front of Owen, who's made a mistake at the slow chicane there. 9 and 10. A good run from Turmo through 11 and 12. It's not going to be close enough for 13, but turn 14. Again, a little bit of understeer, that weight causing a bit of havoc with James Owen. And Turmo right there with him. He's just got to get a good run now through this kink, and he'll be a chance into the penultimate and final corner. Again, a bit wide there. James Owen is using a lot of front tyres. We see Gary Neville off in the background, and we see James Owen off at the penultimate corner. That's going to move Turmo now up into P4. And that's vital extra points for Brenton Foley, who currently leads. But we'll just have a look in the background. There's Gary Neville off in the boonies. So let's just have a look and see. Ooh, looks like he's just pulled off there. So everything was fine, and then he's just slowed down and pulled off, and he's still there. So perhaps family's interrupted him, or perhaps it's like Luke Joyner, perhaps something's come up on his screen that he's had to close. So hopefully he gets back going soon. But once again, just to run through the order. Obviously you can see it on your screen, but I'll just go through it for you anyway. We've got FCR 1-2 with Brenton Foley currently leading. Winner of race 1, Brendan Ross in P2. See, he's doing a bit better this time out as he tries to ruin it for himself by locking up there at the hairpin. And then we've got Dwayne Davies in P3. That damage on the front of his car was sustained on the formation lap, coming up to not this chicane, but the next one, here at 11 and 12, where the safety car goes very, very slowly, and the front of the field this time didn't cop it, but those at the back obviously weren't paying too much attention, and he ran into the back of somebody. Behind him, Turmo. His car's nice and straight this time around, and he's used that undamaged car to good use, and just jumped in front of James Owen at a lap ago. Obviously James Owen has got a bit of damage throughout this race. Obviously got whacked from behind by Steve Bolger, making an optimistic passing manoeuvre into turn 3, and then with Luke Joyner parked on the exit of turn 2, left him with nowhere to go, unfortunately, and that's why he's got that big ding on the front grille there. So he's P5. Brownie, he started 3rd in this one, and he's been really good so far. Obviously not the quickest driver out there. He's battled hard, he's battled fair, and he's currently sitting there, as you can see, P6, and he's got Steve Bolger and Cracker behind him. These two looks like they're having a spirited battle, and Bolger running away at the penultimate corner. Cracker going to have to go the long way around the outside. So that's going to be a drag between Bolger and Cracker. Mitsubishi versus Renault, and the Mitsubishi wins this time out. 2:02.6 for Cracker, and 2:05.0 for Bolger. So Bolger very consistent in this one. He had a very solid run in the first race, but this second race hasn't gone well for Mr. Bolger. And behind them, Glenn Miles started on pole for this reverse grid race. It's a very quiet one so far, but he hasn't made a mistake, unlike his teammate, who finished off with only 3 wheels on his wagon. Gary Neville, good to see he's got back going again. Obviously he had to deal with something there, just park off to the side of the road for half a lap or so. And then Luke Joyner, who, again, I think like Gary Neville, something must have happened to him and he just parked it at Exeter Turn 2. So no one would do that, obviously, unless something come up on their screen. So that's why he's down there at the moment. He started, I think, 4th, I believe. So it's that Turmo edging away quite comfortably from James Owen. James Owen's got a bit of a gap though. He's got Turmo 13 seconds behind, so he's really no worry. And obviously he's got Turmo now just edging away from him as well. Behind him, Brownie though. He's got Cracker now. He's caught up. Well, Cracker and Bolger. And Brownie's got 4 minutes plus an extra lap to hold on, but he's run wide there on the grass. It's going to allow Cracker through and probably going to allow Bolger through. He's not giving it up, and in fact Cracker a bit wide there through the right hand kink and sort of balked everybody a little bit there, and that allows actually Bolger to get through. So both Bolger and Cracker pass Brownie without too much of an incident, but a bit awkward nonetheless. But Bolger and Cracker currently closest battle on the circuit. 206 for Bolger, so 205 and a 206 last couple laps for him. We'll be hoping to pick it up, and obviously Cracker was balked and obviously made his own mistake there, which didn't help anybody's lap times. Alright, so while that's going on, I think what we might do, we'll jump on board our race leader and race 1 winner, and just talk us through a lap of the circuit. Actually, we'll wait until the start-finish line for that, but obviously he's got a 2.7 second lead. And just getting used through that. Mike Coulson engine blew after hitting the wall. Yes, that is a feature around some Razors circuits. They're like that. It wasn't a big hit into the wall. We did see Mike, but unfortunately, it's just one of those really sensitive ones you get sometimes in sim racing, and it just blows the engine despite minor contact. And well, she ran out of talent, but you had spirit. That's all that matters. Alright, so Foley, just jump on board right now. Here we go, coming into the final corner. So out we come. You want to get a nice exit. When you clip over that final part of that curve, you want to be doing about 109, 110. They only hit 5th gear around this circuit. The 202 will be about the top speed. You want to brake at the 100 metre mark. Down to 2nd. Use a bit of curb for this first bit, but he's missed that. Set yourself up nicely for turn 2 here. Don't run too wide. Flat out through the remainder of turn 2. It's a continuous corner, but he's had a lift there. So perhaps his front tyre's going off just a little bit, or he's just being a little bit cautious. You want to brake at about 103 metres, 100 metres. Once again, down to 2nd gear. Use a bit of curb. Set yourself up nicely for turn 4. Don't get on the throttle too early and run wide, as we've seen a lot of guys do. Again, nice and assertive here. Lift off, then get back on the throttle. Don't run too wide. Now this fast left kink here, you have to fan the throttle just a little bit, and then back on it. Almost hit the limiter here in 3rd, but down to 2nd to the hairpin. Can take it in 1st, but 2nd is the best way to go. Run it out nice and wide. Now you can hold it in 3rd and hit the limit, or go to 4th and with the silly shift and then back down to 3rd. Use a bit of curb on the first part, a bit of curb on the 2nd, but don't get on the throttle too early, because it's very easy to run wide, very deceptive, a lot of these corners. Again, want to just brake, don't downshift. Use a lot of curb for the first part, flat for the 2nd. But he's lifted, obviously up a long way into this race. Tyres a bit worn, up to 4th, down to 3rd. Watch the back end, can step out, but he's got weight, so he doesn't have to worry about it. Down to 2nd for this one. Don't run too wide as he's done. Flat out for this 2nd one. You want to be flat out for this kink, well, on fresh tyres at least. Set the lift, and then brake at about 55 metres for the penultimate corner. Down to 2nd. Use a bit of curve if you can. Set yourself up for the final corner. It can be 1st or 2nd gear. take a nice wide entry, tuck it in, flat on the exit, and that is a lap of the Curvelo Circuit A. Right there from Brenton Foley, 203.9. Obviously, he's taken it a bit easy at this time of the race, and obviously his tyres are a bit worn as well. Interestingly enough, though, Dwayne Davies is travelling nicely at the moment. Brendan Ross in that last lap looks like he got a track cut in the middle sector. So, and he's obviously dropped a bit of time because he's got Dwayne Davies only 1.7 seconds behind, and he wants to spoil that FCR 1-2. And behind him is Turmo in P4. James Owen 8.6 seconds behind in P5, and we've got Bolger and Cracker continuing their battle. Bolger ahead, last time he was behind. Cracker having a look into turn 1, but he'll have to go around the long way at turn 2. He's going to try it though, and he's going to run out of road, as does Bolger. Shades of Fuji 2007 as they both run wide there, and but Cracker takes the position as Bolger couldn't quite get back on track, and obviously running on the grass isn't the optimal way to drive the circuit. So Bolger down to 7th, Cracker back up to 6th. And Bolger once again just a little bit wide, and dropping more time to Cracker. Once again on this lap, so Dwayne Davies just edging a bit closer to Brendan Ross in front. As you can see, that's now probably the closest battle on track, as 1.1 seconds compared to about 1.3 or so between Cracker and Bolger. And as time expires, this will be the final lap, and it looks like Davies got a decent run to the final corner, and Brendan Ross made a little bit of a mistake. It's allowed Davies to close in on P2. 2:02.6 for Davies, 2:03.7 for Ross. So Ross making a couple errors here, allowing Davies to get a sniff. That said though, Davies a little bit of a mistake through turn 1. It's going to drop him a little bit of time. But this drive of Ross sort of reminds me a lot of Rubens Barrichello at the 2004 French Grand Prix, where he was running in a comfortable 3rd position with Jarno Trulli behind him, and just a couple of little minor errors towards the end of that race, and then obviously getting passed on the last lap. Ended up, oh sorry, it was the other way around. It was Jarno Trulli who was running in 3rd with Barrichello behind him, and obviously Trulli made a couple of mistakes and then allowed Barrichello through for 3rd on the last lap. And his team boss absolutely scolded him afterwards. So that could happen to Brendan Ross if he doesn't hold on to P2 here. I'm trying to think if this will be the first or second 1-2 finish for FCR. I believe it'll be the first. Or perhaps second, where Matt Williams won a race. But either way, about halfway through the final lap. Ross just doing enough for now. Dwayne Davies giving it his all, and we've had James Owen DNF. James Owen has DNF'd. What has happened? On the final lap, we're just going to have a look and see. I do apologise. Looks like he's missing a wheel in that shot. What has happened? He's just lost it on the straight, like his wheel or something's turned off, and he's binned it. What has happened there? So that is going to give Brenton Foley the championship lead going into the final round. Unbelievable. If it had have happened a lap later, it wouldn't have mattered. Brenton Foley crosses the line, wins the race, 2 from 2. Brendan Ross will hold on for P2. Dwayne Davies almost does the same thing as James Owen, but he'll finish P3. Turmo, a well-earned P4. Cracker is 1.5 seconds in front of Bolger with 2 corners to go. He's just got to get this one right, and he'll get the last one right pretty easily. So Cracker will win the spirited battle between himself and Steve Bolger, with rage all race long. So Cracker P5, Steve Bolger P6, Brownie will finish in P7. But Jesus Christ, what? I'm lost for words. What happened? I do not know what has happened there. Surely that's got to be the wheel is turned off, or something's happened in the background. I know with the G20 set with the G27 series or G series wheels that has happened. Sometimes you'll get an alt tab or something, and it'll just turn your wheel to the left. But absolutely unbelievable. With 1 lap to go of race 2 going into the final round, he would have had about a 15 or so point championship lead, perhaps 12 off the top of my head. I'm just guessing here. That isn't my strong suit. And then it's just into the wall on the main straight, and Foley now will lead the championship into the final round. Glenn Miles will hold on to P8. Gary Neville will finish P9. And Luke Joyner will be the last of the finishers. He's just got 2 more corners to navigate. Coulson saying possible hardware failure. Yep, that could be the case. As I said, with G... In fact, Luke Joyner's just stopping. Oh, no, he's going to accelerate up again. I thought he was going to try and finish the race in reverse there, but only morons like myself do that. But Luke Joyner will finish in P10. There are reverse doughies going on. We better catch them on the stream. Ross, better get going again, son. I'm zooming in on your stupid helmet, so get going. But unbelievable scenes with a lap to go. James Owen, probable hardware failure, has DNF'd on the front straight, and Brenton Foley claims 2 from 2. Brendan Ross makes it a 1-2 finish for FCR in that second race. Redemption for Ross, obviously having an absolute shocker in that first race. Dwayne Davies finishing on the podium in P3 in that second race. Turmo battled with, obviously, James Owen for quite a portion of that second race there. And that'll be a little bit of redemption, obviously, after having a bit of a mare being caught up in someone else's accident in the first one. But gee whiz, what a turn in the championship with, well, now 2 races to go. Unbelievable. I certainly couldn't have predicted it, and certainly not in that fashion. Unfortunate, but it's going to make the final 2 races very, very interesting. Anyway, I've been joined in TV time. Might as well jump to the man of the moment, Brenton Foley. Obviously, pole position getter, race 1 winner, and well, quite comfortable race 1 winner. Obviously, led every single lap. Didn't set the fastest lap of the race, but you didn't really need to. And then that second race, you battled your way through. A little bit of scruffiness with Cracker there, but despite that, you got your way into, obviously, second place. You were fast enough to beat, obviously, your teammate anyway. You got into the lead, and well, it's been a very, very good round for you for the championship.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic night, really. The 4G on my phone internet held out, thankfully, so didn't have any of my normal issues, but definitely couldn't have done it without the FCR Motorsport team. They gave me a good car. We've worked on keeping the tyres alive a bit longer. I've completely changed the way I drive that car that round, and it's looking pretty good.
Yes, team owner, obviously Matt Williams did say before the race we were speaking that obviously you had to completely change your driving style. What changes did you have to make compared to obviously how you were driving in obviously previous races in these cars?
Just some small things in cornering. I used to be able to kind of throw it in a bit harder and faster, kind of like I do, similar to like a V8 supercar or something like that. But obviously that destroys the front tyres, this being a front-wheel drive car. So kind of taking it a bit slower and getting the drive out of it, and just kind of being a bit more smooth on the tyres and keeping them grippy for longer.
Well, it certainly worked. Obviously, you were quite consistent to the end of that first race, and in the second race, it didn't really matter all that much. And obviously, but yeah, obviously the end of that first race, obviously you're still in the 1s and 2s for quite a portion. Then obviously you did drop off into the 3s and 2s in the second. But I think in that second race, it was obviously it was quite comfortable. You were sitting in the lead, and then obviously I'm pretty sure your team boss would have come over the radio with unbelievable message that your championship rival binned it with 1 lap to go in P5.
Yeah, he did. I was just in my rhythm really, and almost didn't want to hear it. I had to just really make sure I didn't make another mistake because I was also on my limited track cuts in that second race because I got a few in the pack taking avoiding action and things like that. But yeah, it was fantastic news to hear that. Definitely helps the championship after the issues I had right at the start of the season.
Well, I've got to say, you've been a deserved winner. Obviously, you were very, very quick. The setup you had this evening was quite mega, it has to be said. Wasn't the fastest overall time, but you did it when you needed to in qualifying. Didn't make a mistake, unlike your rivals. And then nice and consistent in the race and 2 victories. Well done.
Definitely couldn't have done it without the team. Thank you.
Alright, so got a plethora of choices to go. Obviously, for the interview, for obviously next 2 interviews, but I think we'll go to Brendan Ross. Obviously, Brendan, that first race didn't quite go to plan. Sort of in the mid pack there, but got caught up with I believe Cracker and Gary Neville and Dwayne Davies after Gary Neville obviously went off at the penultimate corner there.
Yeah, so that was probably my fault there. Going wide on the grass there and just couldn't stop it, so I ended up stopping midway through the last corner. So apologies there. So that really set the night for that race. But come race 2, sort of made a little change and it worked. Made the car a little bit better and just a bit more consistent to be able to bring it home in the second.
What were the troubles I guess that you were having that forced you to make that change, and what was the change that's obviously helped you find a little bit of pace for that second race?
Um, it's just a different setup to what I've been used to. It's probably a little bit more stable. I've coming from piston brake. It was a lot more probably glidier. So I tried to make the rear slide a little bit more and grip up in the front for that second race. It sort of worked to it just lasts a bit of the race, but sort of chewed the tyres a bit towards the end.
It certainly looked obviously towards the end of that second race where you did have a comfortable gap over Dwayne Davies for a significant portion, but obviously those last couple of laps you would have been sweating bullets as the gold Ford Focus got ever closer in your mirrors.
Yeah, so I really wanted to just bring it home in second. He was very much closing in, but from what I know, from what he said, his tyres were pretty much shot too. So pretty level pegging there.
Well, obviously not the greatest first race, but that second one, obviously a good second place for you and the team. Well done.
Yep, thank you.
Alright, so I think our final interview, I think we'll go to Dwayne, obviously picking up a podium in that final race, but obviously before the race had even started in that second one, Dwayne, what happened on the formation lap? Obviously, we did see in the first race the safety car going pretty slow, and there was a little bit of contact. But that second time round, looked like you gave someone a fair ding because obviously you caught on the formation lap that you had a bit of front end damage.
I thought Luke just sort of, I was ready for it, but Luke just sort of absolutely stopped, like dead stopped, I thought, but unless I just didn't react in time. But yeah, so there was a little bit of damage there, but I don't think it really affected too much. But yeah, I thought he just dead stopped, and he did it halfway through the race too on a corner. Just sort of came to a dead stop. I don't know whether it was his internet or his wheel or something.
It certainly, the way it happened, I think it must have been something must have happened that forced him to alt tab. In fact, we're looking at a message on Discord right now. It looks like his pedals died and his brakes went nuts. So obviously that'll do that. But obviously, speaking of, obviously your first race was a bit similar to Brendan Ross's, where you weren't the quickest car out there, but you looking like you're going to shape up and have a decent battle in that sort of, for P5. But unfortunately, obviously that big incident that we had at that final corner there sort of threw you obviously down the field a bit.
Yeah, I burnt my tyres up in probably the first couple of laps. So I was sort of taking it behind, sitting behind there, and wasn't really going to push it until later. But then, yeah, obviously got caught up, and I thought I had a little bit more speed, but not a lot. I didn't have the speed to match Foley and that, but I thought, and then, yeah, obviously that incident and that sort of screwed that one. But yeah, but those things happen. Nothing to be done. Rossi couldn't stop, and none of us all could stop.
Yeah, just one of those unfortunate accidents where obviously there's nothing that anyone could have done, and unfortunately there's just a few cars involved, which sort of ruined that race because I reckon it would have been a really close battle for P5 between 4 or 5 cars there.
Yeah, I think all of us were about the same pace. I couldn't really get past anyone unless I really pushed. And I think they were pretty similar pace, so it would have been good fun.
It certainly looked like a circuit where the pace between a lot of the runners was actually quite close. It looked like a fairly competitive track where the weight so much didn't matter, and it was more so about the driving.
I think it was more because it was all flowing. There was no real stop starts, so the acceleration didn't hurt us as much. So we could just flow it through. That was what I sort of noticed.
Yeah, and anyway, once again, well done on your podium. Or actually, before that, obviously towards the end of that second race there, obviously you did edge up closer towards Rossi. Did you think you'd nick it in the end, or did you just think that you left it a little bit too late to make your move?
I think I needed 2 more laps to have a go, but my tyres, like Rossi said, my tyres were pretty bad as well. I don't think they would have lasted much longer, so would have been interesting, but he would have had to probably make a mistake for me to get past, I think.
Well, once again, obviously, well done on your podium in the second race, and well, commiserations for obviously that first one. But thanks for joining us, Dwayne.
All good. Thanks, Lewis. Cheers, mate.
All right, and good luck, obviously, for the final round for all of our runners. That'll do for the interviews, just to obviously go through what is coming up at Automobilista Australia. Obviously, last night we had the Formula 1, so that means next week is the GT3s, the GT3 World Challenge from the Kansai/Suzuka circuit. Actually, saying that, we'll probably get this video striked because for whatever reason, Formula 1 management does not like anything to do with Suzuka. But that is the upcoming round in the GT3 World Challenge. There should be a minor update for that posted tomorrow. That will include, I think, one or two, Corey Ott's car, as well as, I think, updates to one or two others. And then I believe next Monday will be F3s, I think, or no, we might be having a break. I can't remember, but there may or may not be F3s next week. If so, the first round will be at Monza. The reason being, obviously those guys have driven Monza in a Formula Trainer, a car without wings. Now, obviously, they've graduated, and round one comparison, cars with wings. So that will be round one, but the rest of the calendar should also hopefully be sorted tomorrow at some point for the rookies. And then I believe in 2 weeks' time on Thursday we have the supercars from Simmons Plains, the Super 2 series. So that'll be hopefully another big field out there, and we'll be using a different version where fans won't be killed this time. I believe there was one or two guys that ended up, I think, plowing through a couple hundred fans last time out. So looks like the sheep population will remain the same this time compared to last time. Anyway, thanks for joining us here at Automobilista Australia, and we hope to catch you next time.